Then we are trying to see whether economy can be ahimsa, non-violent, education can be non-violent or not. So we are now trying to see this particular value called ahimsa. How is it applicable to education? How is it applicable to economy? How is it applicable to activism? That is what we are trying to do here. So I think because the economy is violent, because the politics is violent, because the governance is violent, the tendency is to make activism also violent. Because you think violence can only be dealt with violence. So burn tire, throw stone, shout anti-slogan, and make it as chaotic as possible. So this has become a culture now. It has become a culture that you have a non-violent, a violent economy, you have a violent governance, you have a violent politics, so you also have a violent activism. Right? So what we are trying is basically to see, can you change that culture? Because you want to change the culture of economy, you want to change the culture of education. People who want to change those cultures cannot behave the same way. You need to behave differently if you want to address those problems. And that is where this non-violent mobilization became a very, very important agenda some years back. Can at least those who mobilize demonstrate how they can fight, but then they can fight non-violently, and they respect those values, the values that they want in other areas also. So when we began, what are the things that we are trying to bring into this leadership of activism? That's what we need to understand. So first part is because we believe that people who suffer, people who are marginalized need to take leadership. Because leadership coming from outside, we have seen it happening so many times. People have come from outside and taken the leadership and used to people. People are to be used for advancing your own leadership. And that, to create a shift from there, we said, okay, we will only take leaders, we will only take people from the suffering communities or the communities that are marginalized and create leadership of a different kind. So we need to begin with confidence building, because people who are marginalized have very, very low confidence. They think everybody else are great and I am a stupid idiot in this society. So from there to believe that I can also change, I can also be a leader, I can also change. That was one important task in which we were involved, that giving this confidence to hundreds and thousands of young people at the bottom. I can also be a leader, I can also change. I don't have to wait for a Messiah to come and change my situation. I can change my life, right? So this confidence building was a very, very important part. Whenever we work with marginalized communities, this is important to see that how do you develop their confidence to be a leader, be an actor, to believe that I can change life. I can change not only my life, but life of many others. This is a big work. So one area is that. Second area of work is to help people to have a different kind of poverty analysis. Poverty is God made too, poverty is man made, and man can change it. It's like because of various other reasons, people believe that because of poverty is given. I made some mistake and I became poor. It is part of what I call the karma theory. It is my karma. I am poor this time, next life I may have a chance. So how do you change that notion and say poverty, deprivation are all man-made, and man can change it. And if man can change it, you can change it. It's like as simple as that. You can change it. Come on, come, try. You can change it. So, the moment you understand that these are all man-made games in which we are, Manushan Devam Srishtichu, he was singing yesterday that human beings created God and God created, etc., etc. Same way, we created this myth that poverty is something given and you can't change it. So that need to be addressed. So confidence building that I can change, and then understanding poverty is not something that is forever. If I want to change my situation, I can change it. I don't need to live in misery and poverty all the time. My community need not live in misery and poverty all the time, so I can change it. And the third part, an important part, is that, okay, if I have this terrible confidence that I can change everything, I also know that poverty can be changed, but you need to understand all that need to be non-violently. Just because you have the confidence, because you have an analysis, you can't be arrogant and then start shouting at everybody as if you know everything now, and who are you to tell us that? You need to be non-violent in your behavior, in your speech, in your attitude, in your work. And that is one line of leadership development. You know, create confidence, create an analysis, and say this change need to happen non-violently because everything else is violent, and I don't want to contribute to that violence. So that was one important area of leadership development, and we need to continue to do it. You know, it's like for a country like India, 1,000, 2,000 are nothing. It's you have you need so many of them. So one challenge is that in front of us, how do we create more leadership of that kind who can move into communities with this understanding? Communities are to be organized. Community organizing is the end result of this training. So community organizing for policy change, that is what is to be done. So how do we do that? It's a challenge. The more we do, the more people will get involved, the greater the movement will be. For a country like India, 1 lakh people walking is nothing. 1 million will have to walk, or 10 million will have to walk. You know. So, if you can build a non-violent movement to a scale, then probably it will get noticed. Violent movement, even small, will get noticed. You don't have to do much work. You burn one bus and you are there in the newspaper. But non-violent movement need to be of a scale, it get noticed. You must have seen that when 25,000 people marched for 2 weeks, nobody noticed. It took 2 weeks before you get noticed. 25,000 people on national highway. If I burn one bus, it takes only 1 day to be noticed. So non-violence, to get noticed, you need the number, the scale, the time, all that. You know, that is very important. You can't be impatient. You need to be very patient. It takes 25 years before you really get 25,000 people to walk. And it takes many more years before you are able to train so many young people. It takes many more years before you get 100,000 to walk on the street. Patience is very important. Building non-violent social movement is not something that is going to happen in a day. We need to really have patience. Then the other part in the leadership development is called what is the leadership is all about empowerment, you know, empowerment of people in the community. So what is that? That needs to be understood. Empowerment is a kind of a five layer thing. Very often people think I go to village, I will make a speech and people are all motivated. It doesn't happen like that. Nothing is motivated, you know. You make 100 visits and make 100 speeches, nothing is happening. So it is like testing the rice when you boil it, whether it is done.
Yeah.
Is it good enough to eat now? No? So you have to again and again you have to check whether it is okay now to eat. So these 5 steps are: one, people need to say, I want to change my life. Indians haven't decided that they want to change their life, I tell you. Indians are still saying we need one more Modi so that we will get 1,000 rupees into our account. We will get free rice. They are not saying that I want to stand up to change. No. I want a leader to deliver. Delivery is more important. So how do you empower people in a society where people say, why should I change? The leader should change. You change Manmohan Singh to Modi, and it is coming. So empowerment is all about my change. That I want to come out of poverty. This I need to decide. And if I want to come out of poverty, then I need to stop alcohol, drinking. Then I need to stop selling my land. See, I don't come out of poverty just by saying I want to come out of poverty. It has relationship with my behavior, right? So this decision that I want to come out of poverty, millions of people in this country haven't yet made. So how do you help people to make that decision? I really want to come out of poverty. And empowerment stage number 1 is that. Even to decide. Action is a long way ahead. Even to decide I want to come out of poverty. And second step is that if I want to come out of poverty, I need to move. I don't come out of poverty just because I wish I want to come out of poverty. I need to move. Just by sitting down, I don't get out of poverty. That is second level. It may look very small change from one to the second, but then that is a very important change that I need to move. I will move. And the third is that my moving is not enough. Many will have to move together. My moving alone, I will get beaten up. That's all. I will be in prison. But many need to move together as a community. So that is a third level of empowerment, saying that look, moving alone is not going to help. Moving together is going to help. And the next stage is that if I want to come out of poverty and I want to move for making it happen together, anybody who is moving anywhere, I should help. It can be Brazil, it can be Belgium, it can be France. Anybody moving anywhere, I should help. That is another level of empowerment, that I will move for my change, but I will also help people who are moving. But finally, my moving and their moving, all that should be non-violent. I'm not going to help people just because they are moving with gut. I'm going to help people if they are moving non-violently. Okay? So, very often people misunderstand empowerment as meeting in the village. Everybody has come together. Oh, everybody is shouting slogans. Not empowerment. Deep empowerment is the only way if you want to take them out for a month to walk on the road and sleep on the road, eat one meal a day and get going. And without that deep empowerment, if you try that, you will fail. People will go back after a week, you will be alone, and people will laugh at you. What mobilization are you doing? And that is why all the political leaders are calling people, giving them good meal, sending buses, because it is all without empowerment. This is just show. And show business and empowerment are very, very different. And because we see this kind of mobilization happening outside, social workers also tend to do the same kind of one-day cricket, get everybody together for a meal and then one-day meeting, and empowerment. Why misunderstand? Even among the empowered communities, you have ABC. Some groups are really empowered, committed, they have their own collections, they have their own money collections and grain collections. Some people are empowered, but then they don't do it. So, an activist need to have this capacity to really understand what is happening in the communities where I work. Otherwise, it is all claims that we are making. People are empowered and I have such a long, big organization, etc. There is a second part. The first part is this empowering the leadership. Then the second part is empowering the community with those yardsticks. And the third part I want to say is there is a journey in the life of every activist. You don't remain an activist lifelong. This lifelong activism is not going to help. You begin as an activist. When you understand, you provide leadership, then you become a leader. Then you don't have to stay as a leader, you can become a trainer. Because once you understand activism and leadership, then you can train people. Now a lot of trainers are coming without any understanding of activism. I mean, everybody is a trainer, right? What does that mean? I don't know. It is like so many funding agencies are into training programs. What are you training? The trainer has what experience? Where did they learn, struggle? And I think the last stage of an activist should be what you call inspire. You are not an activist. You are not a leader. You are not a trainer, but you continue to inspire people by your presence, by traveling, by meeting. You don't have to do the same thing every time. So if you don't have your own journey in your life, then you remain activist all the time. And people find it very difficult, very, very, very upsetting that, you do what I can do. Why don't you do? You do something else. Why don't you do something else? Right? So why don't you grow? Why don't you grow? And because people don't grow, they create problems. There are conflicts in the organizations, and many people move into politics not because something like what Inamir said, but because they think I have such a big crowd behind me. I can now fight election. Now I can become an MLA. This is all. And so then you start growing into that dirty political style growth. So so the challenge is, can we organize or train more and more marginalized community representatives into activism with a commitment to poverty eradication and non-violent method? Can we have communities that are really empowered rather than giving a notion of empowerment without being empowered? Can, in the process of work, one can also, steps can be taken for one's own growth, one's own advancement. And my own understanding is that is not happening in a big way in our circle. Even so, the activism also remains more like political activism, competitive activism. Who will get more fund? Which organization is bigger? And who get more name? And who is more awarded? So we also get into the same rut, like political cycle. So I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done even in the social work field, in the activism field. Now for you to translate. That's all what I want to say.